me tell you a story. I have one craft show this season to do, and I was getting my display ready, and wouldn't you know, I don't know where my toy hammock went. So I thought I'm gonna have to make me a new one in one day. So I thought I'd share it with you how to make one. Toy hammock, or the teddy bed as I call it, is our next tutorial. Join us, won't you? Hello and welcome to another Mumzee video. Today we are making teddy beds. My Mumzee used to call them teddy beds, so that's what I'm calling them, but it's also the same thing as toy hammocks. Anyway, let's get started with the supply list you'll need. First, you'll need some cotton fabric. There's tons of quilting cottons, things like that. Anything will do. This is a flannelette. Depending on the size of the hammock you want to make, the largest one only requires a meter or a yard of fabric anyway, so there. And you'll need a matching thread and a sewing machine to sew, a straight edge of some kind, the longer the better, scissors, and measuring tape. Hopefully you can see this. Have you got your Slurpee? Are you ready to go? Or coffee or wine or whatever your choice is, but let's see. The first thing we want to do is find the wall that you want to hang your toy hammock from. If you're giving it as a gift and you can't, sneak into somebody's house and measure their wall where they want, I will put some standard measurements that I use for the small, medium, and large toy hammocks that I make in the description below, so you can use those measurements if that's better. But I am doing a craft fair this weekend, and I usually have a toy hammock on display using this board. So we're going to pretend this is the wall here, and we're going to measure, because I don't know what happened to my toy hammock that was there. And basically you want to measure from the corner and where you're going to probably hang it. So let's see here, let's go 22 inches. Now the largest teddy beds I do run the width of this entire fabric. So we're going to lay it out. Move the Slurpee. We're going to lay it out flat in one piece, no double edge here, and get our measurement 22 right there. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to make a mark right here. 22. And go down the other side as well, because we're going to make this into a triangle, teddy bed triangle. Now we don't need to add any extra amount, because the hooks that the little loops that we put for the hooks, the loops will be a couple of inches long, and that will account for the little bit of sag you need to make it into a nice hammock. So we're going to go straight ahead with our measure, 22. There we go, make a mark. And if you have a straight edge, we'll grab our mark here and we're going to aim it towards the mark down there. And I don't have a marker, we're just going to eyeball it. But you can draw a straight line between the two marks in a triangle pattern. There we go. So we'll keep that aside. With the other fabric, we need to make some biased sort of covering. If you want, you could buy the prepackaged bias. that will work. I just tend to make my own because it matches nicer. And I can make it wider so that if I'm not the greatest sewist in the world, I can fix what I'm doing. So, bias is usually cut, like it says, on the bias across. But, you know, I found it doesn't really matter for this project. If you just want to cut some straight lines across, leave, you know, about 2 inches so you can fold and make it quite wide when you're making the bias. We'll go down to the ironing board and I'll show you that, but we'll want enough of a strip to go across all 3 sides plus some loops. So I make quite a bit, and then I just sew them all together in one long strip. And then do all the sewing at once. And just kind of cut it where I need it. So we're going to cut 3, I think 3, maybe 4 of these long strips. Because it has to cover 3 sides plus, you know what, I think it'll work. See, the longest one will, of course, be this across piece. But I think 3 strips for my particular project will work. And I will meet you down at the ironing board so I can show you how to make the bias. But first, I'm going to just sew these strips together into a straight line of strips first. Okay, we are at my ironing board, and you see that I've sewn all 3 of these strips that I've cut together. Now you might have noticed that I didn't really exactly measure how big or anything like that, how big width-wise, because when we make the bias tape, it will even itself out and make it nice and pretty. So I've got my iron here set on a cotton setting, and if you've never made bias tape before, what you do is you fold this edge over like that and iron down. So we'll press that down all the way along. We're going to iron the next piece up. This one right here, we're going to put that up too. And they can touch, they can overlap, whatever you like. I like mine super thick because then it's easier to sew. You don't miss anything on the bottom or whatever. So then the next step, of course, is to fold it over in half, and matching these ends, we're going to press it all down to make our tape. Our bias tape. I will show you what to do with it in the next step. So here we go. We've got our piece that we've cut for the actual hammock itself, right? And so we've got 2 equal sides of our triangle and then 1 long end. And it doesn't matter which equal side you work with first. I tend to just go with the right one, but it really doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to pin. I am terrible. I don't pin anything anymore. I've done these so many times. but we're going to pin it around the edge. Now don't worry about this end stuff. We're going to put a loop on it anyway, so it doesn't need to be folded in or finished off or anything. I'll pin it for your sake, even though I'm not good at it. I never do. And what we're going to do, we'll pin it in here. And we're just going to zigzag down here, catching everything in the edge. And then cutting off this piece at the end, right at the tip here. Alright, so we've got this sewn. You can see the zigzag stitching. Let me check. There. I've got my pins in there. I don't tend to use them, so they're just there. And I'm just going to trim this little extra bit off here and at this corner. Now we're going to work on the opposite side, the other equal length, the one that'll go along the wall. And this one is a bit different, and I'll show you how. What we're going to do is start pinning like we did. I pinned starting at the long end here, the corner here, going towards the top or the wall, middle of the wall piece. So we're going to put this nice in here. Okay, so now we're at the top middle, like the kind of, what is that, apex? Whatever, the top of the pyramid here. So I'm going to pin that, and what happens is it goes over top of this one that we've already sewn here, and we're going to leave about 4 inches, and we're going to cut it off here. And what's going to happen when we zigzag, we're going to zigzag the same we did all the way up here, and when we get past here, we're just going to keep zigzagging all of this right till the end, because what's going to happen is we're going to flip this around and it's going to become a loop for that first hook for our teddy bed there, right? So I'll show you what that looks like when I come back after I've sewn it. Now we've sewn the second side of this, and I'll show you there's that overhang there, and we've just zigzagged till the end. Now that you've learned about the overhang, I'm just going to cut this so it's straighter. We're going to do the same thing on both ends of this long front piece here. So we're going to give it about 4 inches, and we're going to pin it like so on one side and on the other, because they will make the 2 loops on either end that we hook onto our wall. Okay, now we're at this end. We're going to also make that overhang. So, oh, and it's right where my join is. Oh, I don't like that. So I'm going to make it a little extra long, just because I don't want to be trying to sew down where that join is. Okay, so what we're going to do again is zigzag, starting right here at the overhang. Zigzag all of this, catching it all in here, and then our teddy bed will be bound on all 3 sides, and then we'll get to sewing down those loops. Now our edges are all sewn in with these overhangs, so all we have to do now is take these overhangs and make them into loops. But we want to make some loops here. What we're going to do is take these overhangs and we're going to kind of loop them, do you see, like this, and sew them down so that you've got a loop there. Now, if your machine is like mine, it might complain a little about sewing through so many layers. Go slowly. I zigzag quite a bit and go over it quite a bit because this is where all the pressure is on those hooks. And you'll want to fold it over towards the wrong side of this fabric, because that's where the toys will sit and you won't see it. This top one is a little bit funny because it actually comes from one side, but we want it to go down the middle. But it'll fold pretty okay like that. And then I just stitch it down so it actually looks straight. Now we've got all of those loops sewn down. You see how I did those? Just a straight back and forth zigzag across there. And we're ready to hang it up. So a note when hanging, if you go to your local hardware store, on the back of the hooks package, it will say the weight that you're able to hang on it. So that's a good starting point. If you have some really heavy toys that you're going to be hanging on it, you want to make sure that the hooks are anchored properly. For my display purpose, I only use these little dollar store ones with the little stickies that you can remove, and they work just fine. See, there we go. So we want the part that you see to be the fabric part, and the part the toys sit on will be that underside of the fabric, the wrong side of the fabric there. And now we can set up our little toys in our teddy bed. My daughter's teddy bed actually has a ruffle. I'll show you a picture of that. And if you want a tutorial for that, I can do that in a later one, just to show you how to add on the ruffle if you'd like. And that is about it. If you liked this, then comment. Do your kids, I thought it was a good time to do this one because it's close to Christmas, and if your kids are like mine, they're kind of obsessed with getting little stuffy toys, especially my daughter, and there's never enough storage for it. So this is nice. You can hang it up in the top corner of a bedroom. You can throw, and let me tell you, I know, you can throw like 20 toys all stacked up into that corner hammock if you have good hooks, and they'll be up out of the way. So like it, comment, subscribe, click the notifications bell. I'm thinking about doing a few more Christmas holiday themed tutorials for you. I think the next one will be a crocheted wreath. But I also could do the crochet version of a toy hammock if you'd like that as well. Just let me know. And bye-bye for now.